Well, I appreciate you guys coming and being part of this and just allowing me to share a little bit about what's going on in the network. So I want to start today. I'm going to talk about the network a little bit. I just want to make sure that everybody understands what the SU network is. Because you guys, if you've been around the university for any length of time, you've probably heard of UE. That was the initial thing. It was the School of UE or Department of UE, and then it became the College of UE, and then UE died when we reintegrated back into the main campus, and all of the operational units came and academic units came back into the main campus. And so UE was put to rest, and then UE got resurrected, I don't know, a year ago or so, but we're not UE anymore. That's a totally different thing. So this is the SEU way. We just kind of feel it as we go, and we make it all happen. But UE in prior years used to be associated with all of our partner sites, all the extension sites and regional campuses that we have around the country. And we still have all that, we just call it the SU network. So I want to talk about what the network is so you guys have a good understanding of it and why it matters for the university, but also how we do it, where we do it, who we do it with, all that sort of stuff. Because it may give you some insights not only about what we're doing, but what the university is doing in the heart of the university to take education out across the country and around the world, and then how we do all of that. Because as we continue to grow, and this is an area that is what I consider to be the growth engine of the university, we're going to see more and more partners come to the university. And what's been wonderful to see over the last several years is we've never marketed the network to anybody. Everybody who has come to us through word of mouth. They have friends that have been doing it. And most of the time we're partnering with churches, so they know pastors who are doing it, and their friends are doing it, whatever it is, and they say, "Oh, that sounds really great. I think we'll do it too." So we get inquiries, and I couldn't tell you what the final number was in terms of inquiries that we received for launch for this month, but it was near triple digits. And so we'll actually launch with about 25 sites this month from all of those inquiries. So we get a lot of interest, and then those that learn about it, understand it, say, "This is great, we want to do it," and others say, "No, thank you, we don't want to be involved with higher education. I thought it was different than that." Totally fine. But this process allows us to continue to grow the reach of the university. Going forward, what I want to share with y'all is just some of the initiatives that are on the table to continue this ministry that we have of the university to go out and spread, not the gospel of SEU, that sounds terrible, but anyway, but take Christian higher education out into places where students might not otherwise have access. So I'm going to go through a little presentation. I'll talk about what the network is, give you guys some insight on it and why it's all important. Then we'll talk about, hey, here's some cool stuff that's coming. So we'll jump right into it. So as we start, I'm going to make some connections because I used to be a pastor and I love preaching. I love talking about the Word. So I want to talk with you guys about the early church. That's where I'm going to go with my cool presentation. So when you think about the early church, it started in Jerusalem. And my question, it's a rhetorical question, but do you think the church would have grown if they required everybody to come to Jerusalem to get saved? And there's no way people would have come like, you know what, Jerusalem's just too far, I'm just going to stick with the law. That's just the way it's going to be. So the church is the strategy to share the good news to all the nations. This is the strategy. And for those of y'all that keep an eye on church world, you can see, even driving down Florida Avenue, there's church after church after church. And drive down any road in Lakeland, you'll see multiple churches. Churches they're local, they're contextual, but this is the strategy to reach the local people groups, wherever they may be. So for SEU to be able to share the good news of Christian higher education, the strategy is not to get everybody to come to Lakeland in order to experience that, but rather how do we take that and expand it through partnership? How do we make it local? How do we make it contextual? So how do we create partnerships and establish network campuses across the country? Because in doing so, it allows us to expand our reach without us doing all the labor. So anyway, so this is what we do. So the way that I've got this, and I'll try to talk as much in pictures as I can because I like that. So the way that partnerships work is we have the main campus here in Lakeland. This is who we are. But our partnerships, between the two, this is what makes the network. So we have different types of partnerships, just to give you some clarification on this. The first one, ministry network, this is all the churches. And we partner, and I'll show you a map, it's really cool. About 175 churches right now active in our network. Early SCU, this is crazy growth that we've seen over the last 2 years. But we're pushing about 110 partnerships. And most of those, I would say, 95% of those are in Florida. So we're just seeing some massive growth. And I'll explain why. And then we have academic partnerships. And these are just organizations that have, have curriculum or have access to a student population that we'd like to reach. And so we try to partner with organizations that are like-minded, similar to us, see things the way we do, Christ-centered, and it gives us an opportunity to say, hey, let's work together and invest into your students and give them an opportunity to pursue higher education. So this is what it looks like in a partnership. Now, who do we partner with? So coming back to the early church, when the disciples were going out and establishing churches across the regions, who did they work with? And really, they just worked with anybody who put their faith in Christ. And the early church was super messy, and it's really cool if you read through Paul's letters. You can see how he addresses the different churches, the different people groups. And like the church in Philippi, I think was started by a couple of women and a Roman centurion. Like just random people, but they formed the core of the early church. So it was super messy, and they looked for people that were hungry for Jesus and said, I want to be this is where I want to be. And so they built the church around that heart. But they were all different. They looked different. They were all local, so that the church in Philippi looked different from the church in Antioch, which looked different from the church in Jerusalem, which looked different from the churches anywhere else they went. So they were all a little bit different, but they were all local. They were all contextual. So they were able to meet the needs of the people. They were able to reach the people in those areas in ways that another church wouldn't be able to. So with SCU, in a way it's similar. We partner with like-minded organizations. So other Christian organizations, they could be churches for sure. And it doesn't really matter what denomination, so long as they keep the main thing the main thing. So we'll partner with AG churches, ARC churches, Baptist churches, doesn't really matter, non-denoms. We will partner with those that see the value in their youth population and want to minister to those students as they go through college. And so, we get on board with them. They have access to a population that we would love to serve. They want to provide services to their student population with education. That gives us an opportunity to find common ground and make it work. So that's how we do it. Who do we partner with? Everybody. Doesn't matter, so long as they have the same heart for students. So the primary group that we partner with was churches, that's in the middle. But schools, media partners, tech, trades, business partners, anyone who says, I want to serve my population and give them access to education. And how do we do that? I'll do it with SCU. And the way we do it is a little bit different. I'll share a little bit about this because this is important. Because we've talked about, in our internal circles, we've talked about partnership and what that actually looks like. And what I've seen in partnership with other institutions and organizations where they're trying to get into this space is it's more like a discount. We'll, come on, partner with us and we'll give you a discount. 10% off if you get us 10 students or whatever the deal may be. But that's not partnership, that's vendorship. So it's different than partnership. So in our mindset, the way that we look at partnership is that how can we work together to make it all work? So what is the crux of our partnership model that makes us a little bit different. And this is what it looks like for us. And I feel like this is the difference between us and every other institution that is trying to get into this space. So we call it a collaborative model, just a name we put on it just to try to give it some identity. But ultimately what it looks like is that SCU and some partner organization, we share a mission. There is a common heart to serve a student population, whatever that population may be. It could be high school kids, it could be college-age students, it could be adult learners, doesn't matter. Whatever that population is, there's a common mission to be able to serve that population. And so we are working together to essentially make this student experience really great. We do it through education, so we'll provide all the degree programs. They do it through a student experience. So when you look at the student experience on the main campus, you see what? You see the clubs, you see chapels, student groups, football games, baseball games, dorms. There is an experience that the students come here and have with their friends. It's a community that we create here on the main campus. In the same way, our organizations create a community experience for their students. Now in the churches it works beautifully because they will assimilate them into kind of a young adults ministry, and they'll do chapels with them. But they'll do retreats, they'll do missions trips, they'll do practicum experiences where they're actually engaged within the church. They'll have mentorship from the church leaders. So they're creating a unique type of student experience that we can't provide here on the main campus, and no institution can provide. But it gives them an opportunity to create what that experience looks like. And that's the beauty of our partnership, is that we have certain compliance limitations that we can't mess up, but there's a lot of autonomy for our partners to be able to create an experience for their students that is unique to them. And that separates them from the church down the street who might be partnering with us also. This is the difference between us and every other school out there trying to get into this space. Their idea of partnership is we're going to plant a college campus basically where you are, and your students can go through our degree programs and we'll cut you a break. That's about it. And there's none of this other stuff over here that's involved. And in the middle of this, we work together. So we have student support services here, financial aid, academic advising, admissions, and other support services. But we don't have the personal relationship that the partners do. So they get to work with these students face to face. They can hold their hands as they're walking through their student journey, which is wonderful. So in the middle of this is our student success. This is where we work together with our partners to make this experience very tangible for them.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
What about facilities?
What do you mean?
Facility.
So do the partners have to have a facility?
Yes.
That's a good question. So for our church partners, yes. For our school partners, yes. For the academic partners, it's a little bit different in the way that we're working with them. And some of them do have facilities, some of them don't. So one of our partners, Classical Conversations, just as an example, it's more of a homeschool group. So they have their homeschool community, and the organization itself provides support services and community for those students. So there's a certain student experience that they have. But there's no specific facility because they're meeting wherever they're meeting. So that's a good question, though. Yeah. But businesses, they'll have their own facilities. Churches, they have their own facilities. Schools have their own facilities. And that's where the students will congregate. So, good question, though. Okay. Does this make sense to you guys? Okay. All right. Where am I? So in this, when we look at the early church, just to give you kind of a connection of where we are with this with SCU, the way that the early church stayed somewhat in line was with Paul's letters. So he wrote letters of correction, like for encouragement, saying, hey, you're doing this really well, but here's a couple things you might want to change because you're getting off the rails when it comes to the gospel. So there was that tether of the early church to one of the apostles, and one of the church leaders. And so in the same way, this is what we do. So we have our academic programs, our systems, everything is tethered here to the main campus, but we give them that opportunity to customize and personalize their educational or their student experience. Okay, so just like the early church had its own unique experience of how they ministered to folks, how they reached out to their communities, it's the same in the way that we do partnership. So I've been using this example when I try to explain how we do it with pastors as they're inquiring and trying to understand it. And what I love about what we do in the network, and this is, I'm going to go off the path here for just a sec. But just a quick question. But what is a Swiffer? Is it a mop or is it a broom? Or is it something new? So in my opinion, the Swiffer created a new category of cleaning products that took elements of a mop and elements of a broom and combined it to create this unique thing. When I think of the network and how SCU is expanding through partnership, it's not traditional, but it's not online. But we take elements of the traditional educational experience, the community and the experience they have here, and we take elements of online, which is where the majority of our students will experience their classes. And we combine those two to create a new higher education pathway that's different than anybody else is providing. So, and not to be weird about it, but I believe SCU is a pioneer in this space. And we are doing things that are totally different than every other school out there that has to rely solely on their online experience, and this is how you can do it, and then don't do anything else because that could cross the compliance line. Or just you have to come to the main campus. And those are your only two options. But we have created this, to me, a very unique and new pathway for students to experience education. And again, they can do it contextually. They can do it locally in a way that is very specific to their community. Yes, ma'am?
Sorry, I have one more question. So, do partners recruit students?
Great question. Yes. Yeah, that's the way it works. So typically the partners that we have in this collaborative model, it's their student population that we're serving. So this is where the schools, we don't have to recruit in the schools because the schools already have the students.
It's a built-in population.
Churches are the same way. They have youth groups, they have young adults ministries, they have staff, they have parents who might want to complete a degree. So they have a population that we can serve together. So they want to serve them, we would love to serve them, so we partner together to serve them.
So the churches, they already have resources.
Yep. And then if they don't, so we talk about going fishing in ponds. Okay, the church is a pond, and they will fish their own pond, and that's the majority of their recruitment. It comes out of their own pond in their own backyard. But after a while, that pond is going to get fished out. Okay, so they got to go out and find other ponds to fish in their local community. So we counsel them and work with them to, hey, how are you reaching your community? How are you working in the homeschool market? How are you working in the Christian schools? How are you working with other churches that have youth groups and young adults ministries? Because there are students there that are going off to Babylon to get educated at the state college. How are you working with them to give those students an opportunity to pursue a Christian higher education experience in your community? So, yes, so the churches have the relationships that we don't have. And in a way, our recruitment in this area is like it's off the university. We don't have to go into those markets and recruit because the churches are the ones that are recruiting, or the schools are the ones recruiting.
And mostly the courses are teaching online.
Correct.
Okay. No face-to-face in the local area of the partner.
Oh, great question. Yeah, like I paid you to be here. Yeah, no, we do have face-to-face classes. So there are some sites, and especially those in Florida, because there's financial benefits to being in Florida with the EASE grant and Bright Futures and so forth. So It's highly affordable. So students that go through this experience in the churches for an undergraduate population, they will pay a total of about $10,000 a year for a full-time college experience, as compared to $40,000 here at the main campus. So about a quarter of the cost, and they get the same SEU degree that someone on campus is going to earn. Okay. So we have a number of partner sites that are large enough to be able to offer face-to-face classes. So in the state, it makes it a whole lot easier because we're a Florida institution, so we can pretty much do anything we want in the state of Florida and be compliant. When we go across state lines, it's a little bit different, but we can. So if a site is large enough to have enough students to fill a class section with a minimum of 10 students who all need the same class, so English Comp or Old Testament or New Testament or college algebra or whatever it may be, if they have enough students and they have a vetted instructor, so all of their potential instructors have to go through our vetting process so that they align with our SACS requirements for all faculty. So in a sense, we're growing our faculty bench through all of our partner sites, which is another benefit to the university. But if we have those pins knocked down, then yes, they can teach face-to-face classes. Yeah, which is wonderful. It gives us an opportunity, once again, to create a different experience. So some of our partner sites are not large enough to have face-to-face classes, while others are. And so if students want to have a face-to-face experience in the classroom, then they can find a partner site where they can do that. Yeah. Again, it allows the sites to customize what that local experience is going to look like. Great questions, though. All right, so let's keep on keeping on. So where are we? So this is the most updated map of our partner sites. Okay, so every site, every red dot, every silver or black dot that you see on here is one of our partner sites. So like I said, we have, as of right now, right about 175 that are active in the network. And then we have about 110 dual enrollment sites. Most of those are down here in Florida. We have one in Colorado, which is cool. We have one over in Moldova, which is really cool too. So what you're seeing here is the expansion that we've had primarily in the last, I'd say, 8 years. When I started back in January of 18, and we had about 70 sites at that time. And we mushroomed to a little over 200. And then every one of these has a life cycle. So like anything else, it's going to start well, and then, as it grows, hey, it might do really, really well, and then they keep on growing up and to the right. And then others, like it'll plateau, they fish out their pond in their local church, and they're like, I don't know what we're doing. And so, they'd have no new students coming in, and the site just gradually declines, and they disappear. So it happens, so not all of these sites that you see up here will be here in 5 years. But we'll have new sites, because this population just continues to regenerate. It's been so beautiful, and it's all done through word of mouth.
So I saw the international, and you even have Japan. I'm so impressed. And I was born and grew up in China. So I hope someday China, the name will be on there.
Me too. We were really close. We were really close a couple of years ago with a partner that could open the doors in China, but we couldn't get past the compliance piece of it.
The only thing is that's a communist country.
Yeah, they were not real pleasant to deal with. No offense, but
Actually, yeah, I'm so glad. I'm very grateful. I live in the United States. I love this country. Yeah, I love here. And in China, even to go to church, if you have full-time job, a good friend of mine who is a high school teacher in China, we grew up together. She wanted to go to church, but if she goes, she might lose her job or could not get any promotion. So that's why I feel very grateful. We have the freedom.
Yeah, we are very blessed, and we hear stories like that, and I feel like we're even more blessed. So thanks. Yeah, Jeremy.
What do we need to do to get into Oregon, Idaho, Wyoming, Kansas, Maine?
We have a site that's opening in Oregon next.
Yeah. So Oregon is Oregon is coming.
Oregon's coming.
Yeah.
Hawaii's coming too.
Yeah.
Let me know.
Yeah.
We also have Brazil.
Oh, that's right, Brazil. Yeah. So what you're seeing again, this is just a taste of it. We do have a site in Idaho, or we did. They closed down. Again, they have a life cycle. Oregon, we have a site coming. We did have one, and now they timed out. So now we have another one that's on its way in. Wyoming, oddly enough, is the only state, and Alaska, where we've never had a site even start. But in every other state, we've had a site to start. Okay. So anyway, I'd love to start one up in Maine. I'd be a big fan of that. So.
I feel like just liking that.
Just my I know. I actually went and stopped by a church. Like, hey, do you want to partner with us? He just gave me this weird look, like, who are you? Yes, ma'am.
So STH in Sweden is not part of the SEU network?
Great question. So no. And the way that I look at the partners that we have were we the ones that they started with? Now, some of the colleges have their own relationships around the world and whatever their ministries may be. But not all of them come through the network in terms of operational management of it and relationship. Most of that is happening with the dean or department chair.
Is it possible to transition?
Always, yeah. We'd love to take over.
What would be the process?
Really just some conversation, and then just, moving some of the logistical pieces over to our team. Yeah, but very possible. And we have a great relationship with all of the deans and department chairs, and they've been wonderful to work with that have allowed us to be able to do some really unique things within the network, but also internationally. Because there's a lot of flexibility that's required to go outside the borders of the United States, because every country has its own uniqueness to it, where we have to get approval, and sometimes we can fly under the radar, and sometimes we can't. So, yeah.
So I have a question about the online aspect.
Mm-hmm.
How do partners, like students who are taking classes, right, online, how do they learn about their different options? So here, you have an academic advisor. So do you have your own academic advisor for all of the networks, or how do you do that?
We do. There's a team within the academic advising department that focuses solely on the network.
Okay.
So we do have all of the student support services. The way that we make it work, and I can show you guys just a copy of a partner page. So the way that we do it, so we partner with an organization, so a church, for example. The way that we help them to attract students is we give them a website. Now, it's a standard website that it looks the same for all of our partners, but it just has the different offerings that they have. So if they want to offer a business program, they can. We go through the process with our operational units to be able to add that to their offerings, and then when a student goes and lands on that page, then they can see, okay, well, they've got ministry, AA, business. Now I want to do business, great. I'll select that degree program, go through the application. And so all of that happens in the back end in Gensbar. That makes it possible for us to code students a certain way and allow them to get into degree programs that they want to take. Now, not every degree program that's offered at the main campus is offered in the online delivery, so there's limits to what students can take when they're out there. But it's really a slick system that's all done behind the scenes, and some smart people put that together in the beginning that allowed us to be able to, flex for sites and to be able to give them opportunities to offer degree programs that wouldn't otherwise happen. And I'll tell you who was the real catalyst for all of this back in 2018. Was Megan Griffin. So Megan used to be the dean for unrestricted education. So she and I worked really closely together. She started just a few months before I did, and so we got to be, friends as we were going through. And one of our partner sites wanted to offer psychology as a degree program, and Megan said, "No, why would a church do that?" And so we went back and forth on it a little bit, and then she called me, it was like a week later, and said, "Sean, the Lord's been dealing with me on this matter," and says, "Who are you to tell my bride what she can or can't do? So if they want to do psychology, let's do it." And so we figured out how to open those doors so that our partner sites could offer degree programs that would meet the needs of their local community. And once she did that, it was like it took the cap off of the bottle. And man, it has been wonderful ever since to be able to offer so many different degree programs. And it allowed the churches to be able to expand their tents so much that, that they can attract students from the community colleges, transfer students from state colleges or other private colleges, to be able to offer them an experience that is, once again, it's just more localized and customized. So it was really, she was the one who was the catalyst. I tell her that all the time.
So do you, I'm thinking about, I live in Massachusetts, so New England is my stomping grounds, and I know what it's like to try to do anything in New England.
Yeah.
Can this work for a school, a high school, who doesn't have enough teachers? Can they take online classes?
Yes.
Okay, there you go. That's how you get into Maine, because we have a bunch of classical schools in New England that can't find teachers, and they need help. And they're calling us as the consortium we're the only classical entity in New England, and they're calling us and saying, help, we need teachers, help, we need this, help, we need that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's coming. I feel like in a way, SEU and the way that we're doing this, I feel like we're like the yeast in the dough. It's like we're just kind of permeating the culture in different ways, and as more and more people find out, I feel like it, in a way, I feel like it emboldens organizations and people in certain communities to say, I want to do something different, and I know that I can do that with somebody's help. And SEU just comes up in conversation after conversation, which has allowed us to do this. It's been cool. Jeremy, did you have something?
Yeah, I was just curious, like, let's say there's a population of students, let's say 30. They really want to take a class, they can take it online, but Maine doesn't have a teacher.
right.
Is it, I mean, hopefully it's not an elementary question, but could we put that population of student in like a computer lab with a study hall teacher? Or like do we have stuff like that? Like, we don't have a teacher to do it, but can we just put someone in a spot to?
Do you mean
have
like
students?
physically, or do you mean in an online class?
Yeah, like, I just.
Yeah, so this is
Yeah.
where the compliance piece comes into play. And so there are certain pins that need to get knocked down for us to be able to require, if students are required to go to a certain place at a certain time to consume the content,
Right.
then that typically triggers what we call physical presence in the states, and that's when the state departments of education get up in arms. Because every state department of education will stiff arm outside private institutions. We do it in Florida. Every state does it. If a private institution wants to come in and operate in the state of Florida and have on-ground instruction somewhere, they need to get approval through the state DOE in order to do that. And so it's an application. There's some cost involved and so forth. So this has also allowed the university, one of the assets of the university has been our compliance team to be able to go into so many of these states and do those applications and give us an opportunity to go on ground. Other states are a little bit tougher, like Massachusetts.
Yes.
New England is
Yeah, you can say it.
yeah,
We're
New England
allowed.
it's a tough mission field.
Were you talking about like high school dual enrollment or like?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
actually, I mean, all of the above. New England is extremely difficult, like spiritually anemic, but then also 3 years ago, we started the New England Consortium of Classical Educators, and we are the only real entity there besides Hillsdale that is making strides.
But if a student wanted to take an online class at SEU and they just did it at home on their own time,
Absolutely.
nights and weekends, whatever, they
Yeah.
could do that.
Absolutely.
Just not an
Yeah.
organized group
Yeah.
of 30 children in a classroom with a computer lab.
Mhm. And we can do it even on a school-by-school basis.
You gotcha.
Right.
Again, this is where the coding in Genzibar has given us an advantage to be able to do this and serve local populations as needed and create a specific course section for them if
Yeah.
needed, if they have enough students and it's warranted. Or we slide them into existing online sections. So, yeah. So, Lots of smart people working at the university to make all this happen. So anyway, so this is just kind of where we are. So much more coming for us. So why do we do this? You know, what's the point of it all? And I'll go back to the church and the Great Commission. So the idea in what we're doing, you know, for the Great Commission, it's, you know, you go out and you share the good news so that all may come to a saving knowledge of Christ Jesus. But the church today, it looks different. You go down the street, you've got different denominations, different sizes, different cultures, different ministry experiences, but they're all localized to be able to reach a certain people group. So in the same way, this is all we're doing. We're working with different organizations so that we can reach different student groups. Now, the students that, the students that we have coming to the network campuses may be different than the students that come to the main campus or want to go to a larger campus versus a smaller campus. So students, when they're going through their decision making, you know, small versus big, they want to go to a small school or a big school or something that's close or far away, what we give them is a very intentional experience that is close by, and typically it's smaller than what they're going to see at the local community college or the state college or even a private institution. Our largest campus is just over 200 students. So could that even be considered a small college? Potentially, yeah. So that's the size. Most of them are running about 20 to 40 students, ballpark. That's the nature of it. So it's small, it's intimate, it's personal. They get to know everybody. And it's intimate, personal community that they're creating. And so students are leaving with lifelong friends. They've got church leaders that are ministering to them and investing into them and developing them personally and professionally and through leadership development and spiritual formation. So they have this very rich experience that they have in their local community. That's highly relational, it's highly experiential. All of the students that are going through the network campuses are serving in practicum, which gives them hands-on experience within the church in whatever that capacity may be, whatever if it's youth ministry or kids ministry or even business ministry. They have opportunities to grow in their professional experience, and then it's developmental. Every year, students are being mentored and molded and shaped to discover their divine design. It's so cool. And they do it in a way that we can't do here at the main campus. We just don't have enough people to do it. But the churches do. Okay, the organizations do. All right, so what are the wins for SCU? All right, so I'm gonna try to click in, and hopefully I'll be able to get to this. So I want to show you guys, this is the census through 2024. So we haven't gotten the census yet for 2025, so we'll see if this changes at all. But what you see up there is the growth of the university over the past 10 years, basically, since 2015, which is pretty impressive. You can see the light blue line is fall, the black line is spring, but you can see it's kind of growing together. So I'm going to parse this down a little bit. So this is everybody. But if we take out the main campus, then that's what we see. If we take out graduate students, this is what we see. If we take out all of the evening and then all of the online students, what we're left with is the sites, the partnerships, and dual enrollment. This is the network. So what you see in the growth of the university is what you see in the growth of the network, which is why I believe that this is the growth engine of the university. Dr. Engel has stated a goal of 15,000 by 2027. And if all goes according to plan, based on what we're seeing in the numbers right now, we will cross over 13,000 this month. When I started in 18, I believe the university was at like 6,600. So to see the university grow in the way that it has grown, despite COVID, despite the economy, despite the political landscape, despite all of that, the university has grown. And it's almost as though, like when you look at the early church, the persecution, the displacement, doesn't matter. The church just grew and grew and grew. And it grew differently than, all right, you got to come to one place to do it. So this is why I love the network. I just feel like this is such a beautiful and unique opportunity for us to create a new experience for students and to create new opportunities for them to, I don't know, to go through college. You know, the college experience is not a one-size-fits-all anymore, and so I feel like this gives us an advantage in the Christian higher education space, but also in higher education overall. All right, so the bottom line, I think we win. That's my take on it. All right, so now what? Ultimately, I'll say whatever it takes. This is kind of the way that we look at it. Is whatever it takes, we'll do. We'll find a way. We always seem to manage to get to a yes. And this is why I say we have some wonderful people that work at the university that are of the same mind. There's a lot of no's, there's a lot of compliance, there's a lot of lines that we can't cross. But I look at those as guardrails on the highway. And so long as we stay within the guardrails, hey, there's some opportunity to change lanes and maneuver as we need to. And so the job of our team, I believe, is to find a path to get from where we are to where we want to be through partnership. And we just need to avoid the cars and stay within the guardrails. And if that means we got to ride on the shoulder for a little bit, then we do, where it's kind of gray, and then we find our way back in the lanes as we need to. And I love this. There's a passage in Scripture that I just, when I was thinking about this presentation, it came to mind. So I'm going to share this. It comes out of Isaiah 43. And it says, "This is what the Lord says. He who made a way through the sea, a path through the mighty waters, who drew you out of the chariots and horses and the army and the reinforcements together. And they lay there, never to rise again," talking about the Egyptian army, "extinguished, snuffed out like a wick." And in my version, in the NLT, this is NIV, but in my version it says, "But forget all of that." So look at what I did. You can remember what I did, but forget all of that. And look at what I'm about to do. It says, "Forget the former things, don't dwell on that. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up, do you not perceive it?" So what we are seeing in the network, I believe, is just not a carryover scripture. I'm going to totally take that way out of context, but still what we're seeing is something new coming through SEU. Like I said, we're creating a new type of educational experience, a new higher education experience, a new category of higher education, in my opinion. So what does that mean? And what does that mean for us? What does that mean for you guys? What does that mean for the university? And so these are the three things that come to mind for me. Is number one, prep for ambiguity. It's gray, it's different. I think about the early church and the way that there was no handbook for how do you do church. They just figured it out. And it was gray and it was weird and it was awesome at the same time. So this new thing that we're doing has already begun. And there's so much more to come. So I encourage you, just prep for it and be okay with it. I know that I like to know where the boundaries are, and not so much so that I can break them, although sometimes that's necessary, but it's to understand where are we going and how do we maximize our speed within those lanes. But then if we need to get outside of that, how do we do that? There is a lot of gray that allows us to work and expand the way we have. And it's weird and it's difficult and it's awesome at the same time. So that's going to be coming your way. Clay, it'll come to you. I know it. Our conversation the other day, we want to reach all the network students with career services and support opportunities. How do we do that? I don't know. It's going to look weird. It'll be difficult, but it's going to be awesome. So what I really want you guys to have in this takeaway is to have eyes to see that your impact is greater than what you may think it is. That we have students that we come across. I'll go out and I'll visit with sites all across the country, and I'll talk to them, well, how's it been, with SCU? And I hear comments about our faculty being wonderful. And, I had faculty member was really struggling, and he prayed for, I called him, and he prayed for me over the phone, and it just made all the difference. And things like that your impact is not just here in the main campus. It's not just in Lakeland. And even the decisions that you make here, I promise, they carry weight out across the country in ways that you may not understand. In the library, there are students that we have out in Washington State that, well, how do I do this? And they will reach out to the library, and they'll get support from the library. I just think, man, that's so cool. You don't have people just standing in front of you, that you have an opportunity to minister to students and to serve them and help them to pursue their journey all over the world, even with little decisions. An opportunity, and Jeremy and I have been talking about a school in Texas that wants to do some calculus stuff. I'm like, okay, well, how do we do that? And some of that is just little small decisions that, hey, can we get to a yes? And if we can, great. Well, then that allows SCU to bless some students over in Texas. So anyway, it's those sorts of things. Your impact is more than what you see. And we want to partner. This is the heart of our department, of who we are. We want to partner. And partner to us is not just like, hey, what can you do for us? And you've got an idea, great, we'll run with it. That's not partnership. But we want to serve you guys as well. We want to make as much of our expansion and our growth possible, but we want to do it together. So if you have ideas, or if you say, no, we can't do that, cool. How do we work together to make these opportunities happen? So what's coming next is really the question, is what does next look like? Classical schools, you brought up classical schools. This is an area that we have seen significant interest over the last year, and it just keeps coming. We partner with a classical school out in Arizona. From that, a school up in Idaho, say we'll get Idaho, has come on board, and then we have schools in Texas that want to come on. These are classical schools that want to come on board. So we're seeing more and more opportunity there, which is wonderful. Different types of partners, so we have not a one-size-fits-all anymore in the network. It used to be like, if you want to partner with SCU, then you've got to be an extension site, but no longer. So we have different partner types that are going to allow us to work with more organizations in different ways to be able to serve their students or to be able to serve the local communities. So there's going to be more of that that's coming. International we're getting interest all the time. I had a call just the other day. There was an interest in what's next to Uganda?
Rwanda.
Burundi.
Kenya.
Kenya, that's what it was. It was Kenya. And just random calls. South Africa, we've had this kind of going in the works for a while, and that's coming through. So just random conversations, but we're going to see more and more growth in the international space, which is unique. It's different. It's difficult. It's weird. It's going to be awesome.
So what about South Korea, because they have the most churches?
Oh, I would love to get into South Korea. Where we have challenges is, how do we get there? Who knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody in South Korea that we can talk to? So that's where the partnership comes. We know people, but we don't know everybody. You guys know people, but you don't know everybody. But you know people that we don't know.
Right.
So how can we work together? So if you have a connection somewhere that you think this person or this organization would be perfect because they have students who want to partner, they want an education from America, they want a Christian education, great. We can make all of that happen. So, yes. Okay. So much more coming. I don't know if you guys are keeping up with what's going on in higher education, and especially in private and even Christian higher education. It's pretty ugly out there. And SCU continues to grow year after year after year. So I'm seeing potential opportunities for us to serve those institutions that are struggling. So how can we do that? With all of the stuff that we have built together here at SCU, how can we take that and be open-handed with it to help these other institutions to not just survive, but thrive in their local communities. And that's gonna be, that'll be messy, that'll be weird. But man, that'll be awesome too, just to be able to prop up other schools and help them to get back on their feet and thrive. I love it. Yes, ma'am?
So is it possible to just contact directly to the church? Like, for example, South Korea,
Mm-hmm.
not go through from anyone, just contact a
Yeah,
bunch
that's
of
where
churches.
typically the first conversation is with the pastor of the church or one of the pastors of the church.
Is that possible?
That's where it all starts. Yeah, so if there's somebody that you know,
Mhm.
we would love to talk to them. Yeah, I appreciate that. Okay. So much more to come with the network. I want you guys to be encouraged. Again, it's complex, it's different, it's unique, but man, like a fantastic opportunity to bless the nations through SEU. So, what other questions do you guys have? So I think that's it for me. Yep.
Who's the contact for SEU online? Like, because I'm over communication science and disorders, and, you know, I know as we're thinking forward, like, to pivot into online, so, but that, the majors that are primarily in the network are focused on ministry, business, and some education, because I was in COE for a little bit, so is that kind of where you're staying? Do you see it kind of growing, or a need has to, if there's a need, will rise to meet it?
Yeah, that's a fair question.
Okay.
So we do have interest in certain degree programs, but not enough to warrant an overhaul to redesign it for online.
Okay.
So many of the degree programs that we're not offering they're just developed here for the main campus. And some of that is because of programmatic accreditation. There's only certain things that we're gonna be allowed to do, and like nursing, we certainly wouldn't try nursing in a church. It just doesn't make sense at all, because the cost of doing that for the church would be substantial, and then the accreditation to go along with that could jeopardize the SEU accreditation. So we'll be very cautious with certain programs. But others, absolutely. If there's opportunities to be able to redesign it for online, then we can offer it through the sites.
Because the students who are in network, their divine design credits are their practical credits for the church, correct?
For some,
Okay.
yeah.
But not for all?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, practicum is not a requirement for all degree programs, just for the ministry programs.
Okay.
But students do, if they're in a business program or digital media, or wherever, they can do practicum if they want to do it. It's an elective option, so they can do that and serve the church. Yeah, absolutely. Other questions? All right. Well, thanks so much. I really appreciate y'all spending time